Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Warhammer Space Marine multiplayer? I didn't really see any need whatsoever to do a WTF is of the single player because my playthrough of the demo reflects my thoughts on the game, and I can safely and happily say that the game continues to be pretty damn awesome. Yes, it is repetitive. Not a problem. Play an hour to 2 hour spurts, you'll be fine. Finish the game one sitting, you'll probably get a little bit bored of it, but there is sufficient weapon variety, locale variety, and eventually enemy variety to make it an extremely satisfying and awesome experience. So if you want my thoughts on that, watch the WTF is that I did of the demo. It reflects my thoughts of the full game, which I have finished, I think, about 75 to 80% of at the moment. However, the multiplayer is a different kettle of fish entirely, so let's have a look at it and see what exactly is going on. I've put a few hours into the multiplayer, and I want to give you some first impressions thoughts on it. Okay, so I currently have a level 9 character in this, which takes, say, a couple of hours to get done. And the first thing I want to show you is the challenges page. So, there are unlocks associated with these challenges, as you can see there. Veteran, kill 30 enemies with a bolt pistol, and that unlocks a specialization for the bolt pistol, as well as an XP bonus. There's challenges for all the weapons, as you can see. We go over to the one that I'm using the most of, Heavy Bolter. I'm doing some fairly awesome unlocks with that. Got Veteran, which got me Heavy Bolter expertise. Master gets you this, and that's the rest of the challenges available there. You can get Heavy Bolter coolant if you go for 30 kill streaks with the Heavy Bolter. Some of these take a long time. I mean, Supreme Ferocity, that's 100 kill streaks. That's a lot of damn kill streaks. There are also armor challenges, which cover all of this stuff. And that's a lot. That is a ridiculous number, in fact, as you can see. And these are all cosmetic. Now, let me show you what exactly is going on with that. Now, this is one of the coolest things about the multiplayer. The customizer is extremely cool. Right, so in the multiplayer for Space Marine, you play either Space Marines or Chaos Space Marines, as you can see right there. And you can customize the looks of both, but otherwise they are absolutely identical in every respect. The weapons are identical. There are a couple of changes in terms of the lore, because, for instance, you don't get thunder hammers as Chaos. It just doesn't happen. So they gave them a demon maul, and, for instance, you don't generally have power axes with Chaos. You usually have chain axes. Now, let me show you the appearance, because this is the coolest thing about this. So if I were to go to the appearance tab, as you can see right here, we can customize what's going on. So I can pick an appearance right here. There are default chapter skins that are available in here, and there are actually a lot of them, as you can very clearly see. Some of your favorites are there. The Ultramarines, not my favorites. Iron Hands, they're always pretty cool. Like those. Space Wolves. And they actually do use the proper Games Workshop colors, to the point where they use the proper names for them as well. Imperial Fists, not exactly a difficult chapter to make anything of there. You've even got the weird chapters that have the split color armor, as you can see there, the Storm Lords, for instance. Celestial Lions have some interesting color schemes. Black Templar are there. I know a lot of people like the Black Templar. Mega Marines, White Scars. There's a lot of them. As you can see, there's a lot available. But that's not the coolest thing, because the coolest thing is that you can actually customize. So, if we go for armor sets, for instance, you can pick a full set of armor, and you can see the various suits of armor that are available right there. I always liked Maximus armor. As a 40k nerd, Maximus armor was some of the coolest. Mach 8 Errant, which is, of course, the new style of power armor. Quite rare in the 40k universe at the moment. Mastercrafted power armor right there. Mach 6 Corvus, that's the Beaky Marine. Very, very nice. And the Heresy era shoulder pad, as you can see right there. You've got a battle damage model as well as relic armor, which is quite nice. And then veteran as well. I would have liked to see maybe a couple more variants on it, but I think that they have given you a good choice of them. Not to mention that that's not all you can do with it. So let me just switch over to my Chaos guy for a moment, because I've unlocked some sets on there. There we go. Edit my Chaos appearances. So that's my current appearance. So I've actually taken a Thousand Suns style color scheme. They didn't have Thousand Suns in the color scheme, so I did my best to emulate Thousand Suns. And you do have the original colors to make that happen, so it's not difficult. So let's go and have a look at appearance too, for instance. Now, on your armor, you can actually change this around on a piece-by-piece basis, which is very cool because a lot of Marines, either Chaos or Space Marine actually do use different marks of armor sometimes, Chaos in particular. Although for some annoying reason they decided to go for this. They decided to rename the Chaos armor. And I mean that's an Iron Armor style one, that one, isn't it? That's quite nice. Actually no, that's very much Mach 3 Iron Armor. But interesting variants on them. The idea that they've changed all the names around and they don't stick to the standard power armor names is kind of irritating, but you know, that's just me being a 40k nerd. Doesn't really matter so much. So these are the two I've got unlocked at the minute. You can choose between them, and you can do the same thing for everything. So if you want one shoulder pad that's different, you can do that. And then you can take the shoulder pad and you can edit the colors around and things like that. So if I were to go back to armor colors, I can edit it on a piece-by-piece basis. Let's just say I want that left shoulder pad not to be red. Look for primary colors right there, and as you see, they do use the Games Workshop color schemes and the Games Workshop color numbers, so you can get the exact colors of different things. And there are a lot of colors available, which I do like an awful lot. That is very, very good. Extremely good. Lots of very cool options there. You can also have the pattern either on or off, which is also kind of nice, because that'll change things around. On some of these pieces, there are patterns that you don't want. Can also affect the detail color. So, I see tons of options in customizing in that regard. Can't really customize your weapons, but you can customize the armor. And you've also got the standard shoulder badge options, which don't actually usually show up for Chaos anyway, so it's kind of pointless. Some marks of the armor it does, but most of the standard they don't. So you've got your standard stuff here: Night Lords, Iron Warriors, Death Guard, etc., etc. You can do a lot with it. It's also a Warband armor set. These just unlock when you've completed the campaign. There's a full set of armor you can get, which is locked specifically to finishing the single player. Okay, so yeah, that covers that. Now let's have a look at loadouts. So the game is a progression-based multiplayer game along the lines of Call of Duty and everything bloody else that's coming out these days. So you've got three classes: Tactical, Devastator, and Assault. They are, as you might expect. Tactical is your run-and-gun kind of guy. A lot of flexibility. Devastator, slow-moving, heavy weapons guy. Assault, uses a jump pack, choppy, close combat dude. So I can show you a little bit in that regard. I've only unlocked one custom class loadout. They unlock incredibly slowly, but then again, you generally don't need them because you don't get a huge amount of options at the lower levels. So go to Tactical, look at the weapons available. So the 6 weapons available for the Tactical Marine. Vengeance Launcher, I'm told at the moment, is kind of rubbish. Storm Bolter, always nice. Incredibly silly to see them using a Storm Bolter like that. It's not that common to have guys in power armor using Storm Bolters, but it's not unheard of either. Usually Storm Bolters are reserved for either captains or Terminator armored dudes. Melter Gun, very, very nice. Stalker Bolter. So it's like 3 kinds of bolter, basically. This grenade launcher, the plasma gun, and the melter gun. Now, you can get a perk for the Tactical Marine that lets you use 2 of these weapons, plus the bolt pistol, which comes as standard. You've then got special equipment, which consists of either frag grenades, blind grenades, or combat stim, which is a temporary damage reduction and increase to damage done with melee. And your Tactical Marine has a knife, by default. In fact, he is the only one that has a knife in the entire multiplayer. And then we'll have a look at this as well. So there are class-based perks, and there are weapon-based perks as well. Tactical Marine has a lot of weapon-based perks, as you can imagine, for obvious reasons. And they unlock on the basis of these challenges that you can see, right? Perform 16 multi-kills for additional melter fuel, for instance. Vengeance Payload. And some of these are kind of fiddly, so I imagine people are going to spend a long time trying to unlock these, because perform 16 multi-kills, for instance, that's actually quite difficult. And then you've got your class perks as well. So rated Combat Blade, Teleport Home, a Tactical Readout, so on and so forth. And then a lot of these are just simply locked one way or the other, usually on levels. A lot of these take a long time to unlock. And that's pretty much that. So I think without further ado, we're going to show you the game. Or try to. There are 2 game modes available. They are not imaginative in any way, shape, or form. You have a team deathmatch and capture control points. We're going to go with capture control points because that's probably the best mode to demonstrate. Now, first big, major, huge complaint. This is peer-to-peer based lobby multiplayer. What does that mean? It means that you are stuck in a lobby, one guy is the host, and you have people talking in the background. As you can hear, some guy's mic is on. which is infuriating. My mic might be on. I have no fucking idea. Not a clue. So you usually have to mute them. There we go. Let's find two guys with mics, mute them. I think my mic is off. I certainly hope so. Otherwise, people are going to be getting running commentary of what's going on here. Right, so I've spawned as a Devastator Marine, and the mouse controls are really, really slow. So what I tend to do is I ramp up the DPI on my Razer mouse right there. It's kind of irritating, I have to say. I don't know what it is about the DPI mouse settings in this game for multiplayer. They seem to be a lot slower than the single player. Alright, so this is one of the 5 maps available. I say it's the standard control point setting. Nothing particularly unusual about the game mode. It's unfortunate they didn't try to be at least a little bit imaginative in that regard, but there you go. Currently playing Devastator. If you happen to end up on the Chaos side, then you will play Havoc. Needless to say, there is no real gameplay difference between the two. And also, you don't get to pick which side you want to go on by default. Maybe in a private game you do, but on public game you just get kicked or whatever. Which is kind of annoying if you're trying to do armor challenges and things for one particular side, because you won't be able to. Pretty damn infuriating, if I'm totally honest. We'll move our way over there. Another thing that's damn infuriating is the friggin' microphone settings in this. So, by default, everyone else's microphone is turned on, which is incredibly annoying, as you can imagine. Not good at all. Now, bear in mind, guys that developed this game, it's Relic. Now, you'd think that Relic would be kinda good at dealing with this kind of thing. They've been doing PC games for quite some time. Well, they're not. They completely forgot, as it turns out. You've got this peer-to-peer lobby system, which is very much console-based, and as a result, you've got frequent lag spikes in the game, depending on who's hosting and where the other guys are. And you've also got issues with, as I said before, the microphones. And the microphones are permanently on. You have to mute them in the tab screen or in the game lobby. There is no way of turning them off whatsoever, to the point where the guys in this game are actually listening to me doing the review, which is probably hilarious for them. Well, there you go. Fairly unique experience for all of us. What can I say? Down you go. We're not having any of that nonsense. Thank you very much. That guy screwed me over. So, that is not exactly great, I have to say. It feels to me like the multiplayer was kind of phoned in to some degree. Don't get me wrong, it's kind of fun. Now, we'll talk a little bit about the way the combat mechanics work. So, they work fairly similar to the single player, which you might think would be alright because the combat in the single player is really good, but the problem is that in the single player, you're up against vast hordes of enemies, and here it's very much 8-on-8 squad play, and that is not quite as good because you can't go for the crazy melee style that you had in the single player. Why? Because there simply aren't enough guys to do it with. You can't go and melee your way through 20 or 30 orcs because there aren't 20 or 30 orcs. It's going to be one-on-one combat for the most part. And if I'm totally honest, one-on-one combat in this game actually isn't that good in terms of the melee. The combat engine was very much designed around meleeing tons of dudes. Just crushing orcs by the hundreds. It wasn't about one-on-one combat, and the combat is too hack and slashy to really have any degree of precision. For instance, if you're only getting a thunder hammer in this game, a lot of that ends up being just these wide, big arc swings. You don't really have to aim. You just have to be near the person, swing it around, and smash them in an arc. And that's not exactly all that fun, I have to say. It's part of the reason why I decided not to use the Assault Marine, because I just find it dull. It's not a particularly interesting class to me. The Devastator is a little bit more fun. The Tactical Marine's good fun as well. The Devastator just allows you to plant your feet, literally, using the R button, allows you to plant your feet down and just let rip with a heavy bolter, and there is a lot of enjoyment to be had that way. Massive amount of enjoyment. The heavy bolter feels good, and as a direct result, you have fun, and you get to massacre people. Kind of like that. You can also fire on the move. You kind of suck, but there are some situations where you've just got to do it. Unfortunately, the Devastator Marine is kind of slow. Thankfully, not slow enough for that guy. Take him down as quickly as possible. But the classes do actually feel kind of varied in that regard, although they've all got very, very limited roles. The Assault Marine is just jump in, do as much damage as you can. If possible, try and take out entrenched Devastators. It's always good. Or guys with Stalker Bolters. Those are pretty annoying. So kill snipers. Get behind enemy lines, chop people into pieces. Your Devastator is very, very good for gunning down Tactical Marines or, of course, any Assault Marine that happens to get into the open, which is a very, very foolish thing to do, but it has been known to happen from time to time. And then your Tactical Marines can deal with pretty much any threat. They've got reasonable melee capabilities, not as good as the Assault Marine, but good enough. And I am not in a good position. Absolutely terrible situation to be in if you go in like that. There we go. It's a quick and easy victory for us by the looks of it. And then you have the fun of muting everybody's microphone once again. Stupid. It's funny because the single player didn't even feel like a console port, but the multiplayer really, really does. And that's unfortunate. I think really it's the translation of the melee combat is probably the worst thing for me. 95, not bad considering how distracted I was getting while talking. It's pretty difficult to do. But, yeah, the melee just, it doesn't stand out to me. It's really got absolutely nothing going for it in the multiplayer. The single player, it's freaking brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Here, no. There are huge latency issues as well, which actually really hurts the melee. This is quite nice. We've got guys contributing to the video right here. Hi, guys. Yes, you'll be over on youtube.com/TotalHalibut momentarily. Yeah, it's all about the idea of melee when you've got a latency impeded environment. Because you can't get precision due to the fact that people are warping around the place, you have all sorts of issues getting in proper hits. This is actually, I think, the reason why a lot of people use the Thunderhammer. Not only can you do, like, basically two-shot somebody with it, so you can jump on someone, two-shot them before they even know that you're there, but it's got this really wide swing arc, so accuracy doesn't really matter. You try doing that with a chainsword, that's really difficult. And yeah, they did mention some weapon balance issues. I was actually reading on the forums about the Vengeance Launcher being kind of rubbish. Using the heavy plasma gun, for instance, once again with latency, that's very difficult because it's not a hit scan weapon. You're firing across the map with these slow-moving bolts of energy, and good luck hitting jack with it. Yes, you do get some area of effect, but it's difficult, and certainly the reason why I tend to grab a heavy bolter as opposed to plasma. Now, I will show you in fact, I'm going to show you the plasma right now because I've shown you quite a lot of the Devastator gameplay, so let's have a look at tactical. So I've got a plasma gun with this tactical setup. I don't have the perk that allows two weapons yet. I'm fairly low level. I haven't spent a huge amount of time with this multiplayer as of yet, but using a plasma gun, certainly in the charged variant, is quite tricky. Now, you'll notice there's an immediate mobility difference between the Tactical Marine and the Devastating Marine, which I do like a lot. It does give the feeling that, yes, the classes are sufficiently different. It's not just a class with a different weapon. Because you do get a lot of mobility, and you have to use that mobility as a Tactical Marine, because you don't have as heavy armor as you would have if you happen to be a Devastator. Devastators are quite powerful in terms of their defense, and they need to be, because if a Assault Marine gets in close, they are absolutely toast. Looks like this guy's going to demonstrate plasma guns to me too, and he is infinitely better with them than I am. Well, it turns out he had upgrades for it. Improved plasma charge, which is a nice upgrade. Let's copy his loadout. This is a nice feature, by the way. It sort of equalizes the fact that some of these guys are level 40 and have 2 perk slots and the best perks and things like that. That helps an awful lot, and you can just copy somebody's loadout. So the person that killed you, you can copy their loadout, you get what they get. So, for instance, I've got a tactical readout, which is something that he had as well. So that allows me to see who of the enemy targets has, say, weak armor, so I can pick off the weak guys if I like. Oh dear, that's a melee guy. Yep, that is an Assault Marine. Let me get a little bit careful about that. Let's throw a couple of grenades down there, see if I can catch him out. But yeah, using the charged plasma is really, really tricky. There we go. Take him out with a combat knife. He was very low, as we saw right there. And one of our friendly neighborhood raptors helped us deal with that. Oh, was that actually... Oh, never mind. I'm not on Chaos side. That's actually Assault Marine. Very easy to get confused with. There we go. We'll have a little bit of vengeance against you, son. There we go. Right, that unlocked the las cannon. Las cannon, as you're probably well aware, is actually a sniper weapon in this game. It's not exactly lore accurate, but it does the job. But yeah, really playing a tactical marine comes into its own when you've got the perk, which allows you to wield more than one weapon. So you can run around with, say, a melter gun and then a plasma gun. That works pretty well. I think we're going to copy his loadout because he is an assault marine with a thunder hammer. And as I said, this is one of the best melee weapons in the game by far. I'm going to spawn on a Kados. He's got a teleport homer, I believe. So I can spawn on him and I can come and help him out against this guy. There we go. Let's try and smack some guys around a bit. The real problem as an assault marine is if you get caught out in the open and then gunned down. If that happens, it's pretty horrible. To be honest, the assault marine role is the one that I relish the least. It does give you a lot of mobility, and it's nice that you, say, have the ability to use the jetpack pretty much anywhere, as opposed to in the single player where it's very limited. It's only scripted sequences where you can use it. But I don't like how it works, and it is mostly due to latency, if I'm totally honest. It feels too hack and slashy, and it feels like you just don't have the accuracy, and the third-person perspective doesn't always help either. You sometimes don't get the camera view that you need. Why did I stand in that? Why? That guy's got a lot of nice things. Apparently he's got a perk that allows him to chuck a lot of grenades, so I'm going to steal his perk. Now, what's he been using? He's actually just using a straight-up bolter and a lot of grenades. Master-crafted war gear. Ow. That really hurts a lot. And we lost horribly. Ugh. Disgraceful. Probably do one more map. Show you a little bit of the Raptor or Salt Marine gameplay. Hopefully without dying horrendously. There we go. Go through the next one. I think the real problem I've got with the multiplayer here is that it's just so goddamn uninspired. It's got... I like the customizer, and I like the fact that it does kind of feel like a big Space Marine battle, but the thing about the single player was it was a small number of Space Marines against a horde of enemies, and that was fun. You just plowed through guys. It's absolutely brilliant. Here, not so much. The whole 8-on-8 thing doesn't really give that kind of feeling, and also, you'd think that Space Marines would be able to take more hits, and in reality, they actually can't. You go down really fast, especially, say, a Thunderhammer. Thunderhammer will kill you in 2 hits. You can get gunned down by a heavy bolter incredibly rapidly. And for someone stomping around in power armor, that's not so awesome. I mean, for instance, as, say, a Devastator or a Havoc, I tend to die a lot to guys with Thunderhammers. They'll drop behind me, they'll hit me before I can even undeploy. And I'm not saying that's a balance issue. The Thunderhammer is really good, and that's kind of to be expected. But it just feels like it would be more of Space Marine on Space Marine combat if you lasted longer against your opponents. Instantly dying like that doesn't really feel Space Marine-y to me. You don't instantly die in the single player if you're playing it properly. If you're being an idiot and you suck, then yeah, you'll die. But you don't die instantly. In fact, you barely ever die if you're playing the game properly. Right, now this map is designed with Assault Marines in mind, so we'll probably have quite a few of them. This is Shattered Bridge, and this just benefits being an Assault Marine so much because of the nature of the map. Although you can, if you're not careful, fall off the map. Now, my Assault Marine doesn't have a lot unlocked for it at all. I've got a Power Axe, I've got a Bolt Pistol, that really is about it. So, I'll try and show you what's going on here, and remember, don't get caught out in the open as that. I've got to be careful. So there's a couple of guys moving over there. You can see the lag in effect as they move over there, by the way. Okay, so I'm going to move down here and try and jump on him. As I said, the camera often has problems, which causes all sorts of issues. Sup, Devastator. Nice and easy. If he deploys and you get to shoot him, then all is good. If he gets to shoot you, then horrible things happen. And then, of course, you get caught out in the open and realize you've got nowhere to go, and you get gunned down. What a possessed bolter is. I don't know what that is. It might be the same as a relic bolter. There are quite a few unlocks, and those of you who like the Call of Duty style of unlocks will enjoy this because they have used the same style. I don't know if there's really enough variety to keep me playing it in the long term. They need to get the balance issues sorted out, that's for sure, and I suppose it just disappoints me that it's a game that didn't really thrive on innovation in any real way, and the game doesn't innovate too much. But the multiplayer is where the innovation actually needed to happen. The single player, it didn't need it. chopping through a horde of enemies is just fun enough in and of itself inside the 40k universe, and the weapons felt awesome. The multiplayer, you don't quite have that. Oh god, grenades. Ah! God, I hate playing as Assault Marine. It's just not a fan. Not a fan of the Assault Marine. I know some people absolutely love it, and it looks fun, don't get me wrong. It's just, you die so quickly. Perhaps if I sucked less at it. I've had loads more practice at the Devastator. I can easily get kill streaks with a heavy bolter, no problem at all. Find good places to deploy, and everything works just fine in that regard. Could take this guy out without too much of a problem, however, which is always nice. But it seems like staying alive as an Assault Marine is so difficult. And when you get a kill streak like that, it's pretty damn satisfying, but then get caught out in the open, get gunned down so quick. So quick. I want to nick his loadout. I want to know... I don't even know what this is, but I want it. There we go. Spawn-wise, you can instantly respawn on the normal spawn point for your team, or you can spawn on someone with a teleport homer or on the capture point. So, to come to a conclusion on this, I say it's not inspired. It's functional. It's got its problems. What I would have liked to have seen is something a little bit more imaginative. How about a tactical squad of Space Marines versus 15 players as rapidly respawning different kinds of orcs? And so have like 5 on 15 or 5 on 20 multiplayer. And that sounds a bit crazy, but that's the kind of thing that would work, I think. That's the kind of thing that I would be inspired by and want to play a lot more of. For instance, I'm more excited about the co-op mode that's coming out, the Horde-style mode. That is what Space Marine is. It's Space Marines up against hundreds upon hundreds of orcs. That is fun. That was enjoyable from the single player. That's the kind of thing that I would have liked to have seen emulated in the competitive multiplayer, but it wasn't. And as a result, it just smacks of generic. And it doesn't work for me. It's not the kind of thing I'd want to play a lot of. The customizer is really, really good. There's quite a lot of variety in perks, and I think played as a team, when you use the roles correctly and you're actually on voice comms, and I say voice comms working properly and not this terrible voice comm system that I've got in the game using Vent or whatever, then yeah, that's cool. That you'd probably get some enjoyment out of, and I have a feeling that it could be a reasonably good clan game. But here, it just doesn't enthuse me. And it's a shame, because the single player really, really did. And the Horde mode probably will as well, but the multiplayer did feel like something of an afterthought. I don't really mind that, but honestly, I'd have preferred they just lengthened the single player and either just put in the Horde mode from launch and completely ignored the multiplayer, rather than putting this in, which I feel is the inferior part of the game, honestly. It's the weakest bit by far. Okay, folks. That was a look at the Space Marine multiplayer. Those are my thoughts on it after a couple of hours. And if you want to know a little bit more about Space Marine multiplayer, then head over to the Relic News forums. Is usually a good place to talk about it. And of course, the Steam forums as well. As I said, it's not terrible. It's just, it lacks in many, many areas. And it isn't really anything particularly special. But it's okay for a bit of a romp every now and again. I'll see you next time.